Don't forget to enter our Amazon gift card giveaway. All you have to do is be a subscriber, like and comment. Hey guys, going into the Game of Thrones finale, we have been teased about reappearance of one particular character who will supposedly leave us in shock to see him or her again. Now I know there has not been any mention of surprising reappearance in the Season 8 Episode 6 plot leak, but that doesn't necessarily mean there won't be, because there's a high possibility that the leak did not cover every single event we are going to see in the finale. Don't get me wrong, I'm not questioning the legitimacy of the leak I talked about a few days ago because it's legit. I'm just saying they might have missed something or did not write everything. With that being said, let's take a look on the Entertainment Weekly teaser about this mysterious character that will reappear in the finale. They reported from the Season 8 Episode 6 filming set. What's being filmed here is Episode 6, the series finale. Like Harrington going into the table read, I don't know anything about the final season storyline. I look around at a meticulously constructed set that I've never seen on the show before. Several actors are performing and I'm stunned. There are characters in the finale that I did not expect. I gradually begin to piece together what has happened in Westeros of the previous 5 episodes and try not to look like I'm freaking out. It's noted that there are characters in the last episode of Game of Thrones he did not expect. Now we don't know if this means there are characters we did not expect in terms of them surviving the long, or if it means there are some unexpected characters reappearing in the very last episode. It could very well be just one of the main characters surviving more than we expected, but would it really leave the reporter stunned? He's stunned, he's freaking out about this character appearing in the series finale, meaning that it's probably a character no one expects coming back in the series ever again. Additionally, I think it's probably a character who we think is dead reappearing, and leaving us in shock. In this video, we're going to talk about the possibility of Rhaegar Targaryen coming back in the series finale. We're going to talk about Rhaegar Targaryen is alive theory. Rhaegar Targaryen, the son of the Mad King, brother of Dany and father of Jon Snow, basically one of the most important characters in Game of Thrones history, is not dead, but is rather alive and well, and is one of the faceless men of Braavos. That's the theory I'm going to introduce you with in this video. When you look at it, Rhaegar Targaryen and Jaqen H'ghar have a lot of similarities. Fans mostly point to the fact that both of them share the same grace and have the same long wavy hair. If Jaqen does indeed turn out to be Rhaegar, the silvery streak in his hair would not be the only indication, as there are many more clues in both the books and the show series. I know that at first glance this might sound impossible or even ridiculous, but I highly suggest you to hear out all the clues and some kind of proof that's going in favor to this theory. Let's start from the very beginning, from Rhaegar's alleged death. The story says Prince Rhaegar met Lord Robert Baratheon in combat at a ford during the Battle of the Trident, where the pair had a legendary duel in the raging rivers of the Trident. Rhaegar, despite wounding Robert, was struck down with a massive blow from Robert's warhammer, which scattered the rubies encrusted in Rhaegar's armor under the water. It's said that rubies flew like drops of blood from the chest of a dying prince, and he sank to his knees in the water, and with his last breath murmured the woman's name. While Rhaegar lay dead in the stream, soldiers of both armies scrabbled in the water to search for the rubies. Later, the location was named the Ruby Ford. According to a semi-canon source, Rhaegar's body was cremated, as is traditional for fallen Targaryens. Let's firstly point out the obvious. It's especially highlighted that Rhaegar wore his iconic night black plate armor with the three-headed dragon of House Targaryen decorated in rubies on its breastplate. Additionally, the ford in which this battle took place is named for the rubies that were knocked from Prince Rhaegar's breastplate. Now, why is it so important for George R. R. Martin as well as for the showrunners to make it very clear that Rhaegar wore his iconic armor that had rubies attached to it? Why so much focus on Rhaegar's rubies? Why is it such a big plot point and subject brought up whenever the Battle of the Trident or Rhaegar are brought up? The first theory would be that Robert did not fight Rhaegar, but rather someone else who had glamoured himself in the form of Rhaegar using rubies. As it was confirmed in the 6th season, rubies can be used to glamour its owners into a form or person they want to be. Melisandre uses it to hide her true form of an extremely old woman. In the books, Mance Rayder glamoured to appear as Rattleshirt via the ruby in his wrist cuff. The power in rubies is something called glamour, where you can basically use them with the power of Lord of Light to project a different image of yourself. If Melisandre and Mance can use it, it's most certainly not out of the realm of possibilities that someone had glamoured himself into the form of Rhaegar using these same rubies, and sacrificed his life for beloved prince. The other theory that is also supported with quite a bit of clues says that someone else died instead of Rhaegar, wearing his iconic armor. Remember that in the books, because he had been covered from head to toe in armor, Dany did not see his face in the vision. What I'm proposing in both theories is that Rhaegar never died on the Trident, and that he's the faceless man that we know as Jaqen H'ghar. In both theories, Rhaegar also never actually fought Robert. Well, in the first one it was someone else who used rubies to glamour himself in the form of Rhaegar, in the second one it was simply one of the Kingsguard members who fought Robert, dressed up in Rhaegar's full armor. Throughout the books we have been given more than a few major examples of an ordinary fighter wearing his hero's armor to sacrifice his life for him and his cause. In A Clash of Kings, Rodrik Cassel attempted to put an end to Ramsay and his atrocities. Rodrik's party comes across Ramsay during one of his hunting trips, but Ramsay is able to survive by switching clothes with his personal servant, who is then killed in his place. Basically, Ramsay gave him his clothes and markings of identity, whereupon Rodrik's men killed that servant believing him to be Ramsay. Another example can be found in the last fight between Robert Royce, the last of Bronze Kings, and Artis Arryn, the founder of House Arryn. It says it was dusk when Artis and his Andal army finally appeared, but even in that fading light, Robert Royce did not fail to mark their leader. His silvered armor and winged helm made the Falcon Knight unmistakable, even from afar. After the first 6 charges against Robert's line failed, Artis' falcon-shaped helmet appeared in the heat of the battle. Robert charged at him in the hope that the Andal army would dissolve if their ruler was killed. There we had 2 legendary heroes meeting and fighting in a duel, except for the fact one of them was just an ordinary knight. Robert beheaded the Falcon Knight after a duel, only to see 500 fresh Andal knights charging at him with Artis Arryn at their head. Cunning even more than brute force, Artis had clad one of his knights in his own distinctive armor to distract Robert. Afterwards, Artis became the king of the mountain and the Vale, and founded House Arryn. Those are only a few examples of someone else wearing their hero's iconic armor to sacrifice his life for him and his cause. There's obviously a reason why George R. R. Martin is giving us these examples. There's also one detail from the episode Blackwater that supports this theory. When that episode came out, George R. R. Martin was pretty upset that main characters like Stannis and the Hound were not wearing their helmets during the battle. HBO explained that it would be hard for people to make out who each character is with their helmets on. At first glance it might seem strange that George would complain about such a small detail, but it actually makes perfect sense. For him to later reveal that Rhaegar never fought Robert on the Trident, a big deal would obviously be made about one member of the Kingsguard wearing Rhaegar's armor and helm. After the fall of House Targaryen and world believing him dead, in this theory Rhaegar went to Braavos and the House of Black and White to become a faceless man, just as Arya Stark did when her house fell, and when everyone thought she was dead. If Rhaegar is not in fact Jaqen, it would also be very strange that some random faceless man would allow himself to be captured and thrown into black cells, without a good reason. However, if it truly is Rhaegar, then he had a very good reason to be captured, which is returning a favor to Ned Stark or protecting his child. As we all know, when Yorn requests prisoners to take the black cells are emptied out and Jaqen H'ghar is among the prisoners. Jaqen accompanies this group all the way to Harrenhal, where he begins to form a special bond with Arya. Now you might be wondering, why would Rhaegar help Arya? She is the daughter of a man who helped Robert Baratheon usurp his family's claim to the Iron Throne. Well, Rhaegar never held that against Ned, since it's his father who killed Ned Stark's father and brother, and even requested Ned's and Robert's heads, so Ned did not really have a choice. Also, as I already said, Rhaegar kinda owed Ned to protect Arya, since Ned had protected his son Jon. It's definitely not out of the realm of possibilities that Rhaegar came back to King's Landing as Jaqen to try and help protect the child of a man who's the sole reason his son Jon is alive and well. It's also quite interesting how it seems like Jaqen saw Lyanna in Arya from the very start. In one of their conversations, Jaqen says to Arya, "A girl has more courage than sense." This sentence was also accompanied with a smile on his face. Everyone who knew Lyanna claims that Arya is just like her, not only by looks, but also by courage and wildness. This is what Ned said to Arya. "Arya, you have a wildness in you, child. The wolf blood, my father used to call it. Lyanna had a touch of it, my brother Brandon more than a touch. It brought them both to an early grave. Lyanna might have carried a sword if my lord father allowed it. You remind me of her sometimes. You even look like her," Ned continued. So Rhaegar not only helps Arya, but he also later trains her to become someone she, just like her aunt Lyanna, always wanted to be, a person capable of defending herself and her family. It's also important to highlight that if Jaqen is some random faceless man assassin, he would not be happy and proud of Arya when she reclaimed her Stark name and rejected to be no one, neither would he allow her to leave. An actor who plays Jaqen H'ghar recently sat down in an interview, and he had a couple of interesting things to say. He only added fuel to flame when he said if you change the orders of the letters of Jaqen H'ghar, it leaves Rhaegar. And people began to try to justify that Jaqen was Rhaegar with photos, long hair, his grace, he teased. Might Rhaegar truly be alive and he's a character no one expects to see in the finale? Maybe. An actor who plays Rhaegar did hang around the same set and hotels other actors were staying at, so maybe he truly did shoot a few scenes and maybe Rhaegar will actually reappear. We'll see. Many fans have always believed Jaqen was Rhaegar, the silver streak in his hair perhaps. He became no one when Westeros was being torn apart by war, and used his other faces to hide his true identity until the time is right. Maybe he's so close to Arya because she resembles Lyanna. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to subscribe to our channel and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.